for folks who don't know, the Free State Project is a movement of voluntary human action where we are trying to concentrate libertarians in the state of New Hampshire.
I think we've done more in the last decade than every other libertarian movement combined has accomplished in the last 5 decades.
Are my friends and my neighbors who are willing to stand against tyranny, make their voices heard, and have a goddamn impact.
You have a problem with too many people are afraid to say what they believe in, let alone actually do something about it. If you're afraid to stand outside the TSA line and piss off 97% of people who are waiting to just take the arm builder up their ass in 5 seconds, then you're probably not ever going to make the change.
Free State Project, again, it's 1% of the Free State movement.
I am a friend of the Free State Project.
And would you encourage people to check it out?
Absolutely. Check it out. Find out. If you like it, join and continue the effort.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, movers, natives, and those on your way, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Free State Live, where you can learn all about the different ways you can live free and thrive in the freest state, New Hampshire. First and foremost, as always, welcome back our host. I'm Justin O'Donnell, former Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate and host of the Subversive podcast, available on YouTube and wherever the heck else you want to follow me. And joining me tonight, as always, we have Manchester's tallest native Free Stater, Kevin from the internet, keyboard warrior extraordinaire. How are you, Kevin?
Tallest? Oh man, I got one over on Bill now.
So far, so
Bill is a native. He's also
true.
a native.
Is Bill
That's
taller
true.
than you though?
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Is he?
Oh yeah, couple.
I don't know.
Inches.
I have to look up to talk to either of you. So
either way, we're both big.
Yeah, and everyone's favorite author, activist, FSB board member, host of the Carla Garrick Show, and Queen Quill herself, Carla Garrick. How are you, Carla?
Hi, guys. I'm wearing my little shirt with the elephants on because I signed up today.
Oh, yes.
Congrats.
But I'm also wearing yellow and black just to, keep
Yeah,
things.
just like always, I'm going to have to add perennial candidate for office back to Carla's description.
Yes.
We thought she was
Just for
going to
the
take a year
record,
off.
I'm running for House this time, not for Senate. So it'll
We'll
be
see how that
interesting.
one runs.
Huh?
We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah.
Isn't that the seat Brittany usually runs for?
No, Brittany and I are running together. We
Okay.
are the slate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that means I can't vote for you this time because I don't live in Ward 11. I'm all the way across town in Ward 4. But joining us tonight, our special guest, one of our OG mover, longtime Free Stater, and someone responsible for a lot of the magic behind the scenes. Someone a lot of you who aren't here maybe haven't gotten the chance to know, but everyone here knows and loves the one and only Chris Lopez. Chris, how are you tonight?
Hi.
Thanks for coming on.
Doing good. Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, so we're here. Porcfest is right around the corner. A lot of people are planning their first visit to New Hampshire to come to their first Porcfest. A lot of people are planning their move to New Hampshire after having been here last year or sight unseen to come check out New Hampshire, decide they're going to be free in New Hampshire. And there's a lot of questions. How do you do that? How do you pick up your life, move across the country to a place where you don't know anybody and just drop down and join a new community out of the blue with your cat who likes to hang with your camera? Well, you're one of the people responsible for a lot of the magic behind the scenes, answering those questions for people. You answer the emails, the questions online, social media, you answer the phone. You help people plan their move from every step, from like consideration to unpacking and getting pizza for the volunteers. So I think it's something a lot of people are curious about, like the steps to go into moving. And I think a lot of that starts with your own story, because it's pointed out, like, and in your own title, you're an OG mover. You're one of the first of us to have been here. You've been here longer than most of us. So what was your story and what triggered you to make your move?
Sure. Hey, so back in 2004, I came, the FSP chose New Hampshire in 2003, so I heard about it then. And then in January of 2004, I decided to come over for a visit to see if this was something I wanted to do, because I lived in Oregon. I lived in the West Coast. I didn't know anything about living on the East Coast or anything, so I wanted to check it out. So I came for a visit, and actually, even in that early stage, had some people that met up with me, showed me around the state, and I decided I'm going to do it. And so I went back home, put in some job applications from across the country, and I had no idea where I was going to move, but ended up coming back to New Hampshire before the move to do some job interviews, and I got a job in Concord, and that's where I decided to land. So flew back to Oregon, packed up all my stuff, drove out with my cat, and landed in Concord and unloaded the van, and even didn't even have a place to live then because I didn't know where I was going to land. So I just did it, had a job, and started doing my thing. The first activism thing I did was holding signs for I think it was the then Governor Benson, because because Benson did support the Free State Project and welcomed us back in 2003. So I did a lot of the things that I suggest that prospective movers do now. That is visit and come check out the state, meet up with other Free Staters, and make sure you have a job, have some money in hand, and then come out and make yourself activate. So that's my little story about my move.
So you came in 2003?
Four. So I moved in October 2004. So back then, the FSP website had a little ticker across the top of a number of people that have moved into the state. And so the day that I moved, I submitted that I'd moved to the website, and I saw it click over to 50. So I know that I'm over number 50 because I saw it right there with my very eyes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
You'll love this, Chris, at the Merrimack Valley Porcupines on Saturday that we had at the Quill, which is just one of our, of course, but for folks watching, is one of our monthly meetings. And it's been running for probably close to 19 years now. We had, for some obscure reason, we had mover 0, Jackie, mover number 1, and mover number 7 were at that meeting. And I was like, wow, it truly does speak to the fact that we are a community and that people stay in these circles. And, Steve, who was one of them, he actually still volunteers and gives a lot of time, which is very awesome because he's good with numbers. He likes spreadsheets.
Yep. I think that says something about the movement too, because us early movers, OG movers, came for the Free State Project to do something, and we stuck with it, because this is a project that's worth sticking to and doing and staying active. So it's really great to see that we're still here, and through these years, I've seen many, many people come. And it's been awesome to just watch it grow and grow and grow. That's probably been my most, my favorite thing to see in New Hampshire, just to keep on moving, keep moving in, keep on coming.
I love that. So what's your official title with the FSP? Like, just so that
I am the moving director. So it's my official title. So I help people to make their move. And so what happens is usually a person will either call or email the FSP. My handle is help@fsp.org. So that's where they would email me to. And they're like, what is this Free State Project? What's going on in New Hampshire? How can I get there? What's going on? Is it still going on? And so I send them some resources, and I'm like, it is absolutely still going on, and it's still active and growing. Come on. And so I invite them. I point them to the calendar. So I'm saying, show them there's all kinds of events that are going on. Check it out. Pick an event. Tell me when you're coming. And then I hook them up so they plan their visit. I hook them up to different events, connect them with people that are here during their event or during their visit. And hopefully when they go home, they decide, I'm going to do it. And then they email me back, or I follow up with them, and I say, how can we make your move? And they're like, we just got to sell the house here because we're on our way. And then I set up a welcome wagon for people, and that's basically an event where I invite a bunch of people to come on down and help this new mover unload their van. And all it costs is a pizza and maybe a beer. It's a pretty good deal.
I was wondering that, Chris, you've been doing this so long, but in the last few years with COVID and the lockdowns and the Free State Project having a pretty radical stance compared to a lot of the other country, what did you see? Did you see a massive uptick in how many people were getting emails and things directed your way, and how much you were coordinating on the mover side of things?
Absolutely, there was a big uptick since 2020. There was definitely an uptick with the health freedom movement. A lot of people are they do not want to be told what to put in their body or what not to put in their body. And so in the last 2 years, we've seen a huge uptick in interest and definitely in movers. I've just been, super busy. I love it. Rebecca Robin has stepped up, and she's also helping with all these people moving in. And so the team's grown in the last 2 years, and even in the last year. That's been in the last year. So absolutely, the COVID mania has brought a lot of people to New Hampshire.
It's almost like they're helping us. I mean, you want to be mad at the totalitarians, but I'm like, if you put the boot down a little more over here, it's helpful for us over here.
It starts to separate the wheat from the chaff a little bit.
Right. And I have to say, I'm leaning pretty hard on Florida layly. And I'm just starting to be like, well, Florida's where you go when you haven't done all your research.
When you're ready to retire. When you're all done with everything and you don't want to do anything ever again.
Well,
we're doers here. We're doers here.
Yeah, and Florida is just too big to influence. I mean, it'll become something if we have a national divorce, but it won't be a libertarian state. There's really only one state that stands a chance of being libertarian, and it's going to be because we've literally put in 20 years of work. This is not on accident. This is actually watching the fruit of our labor. I mean, Chris, I know sometimes you and I'll go have lunch and we talk about that, how cool it is to see everything working and the things are in place and the people are coming.
Well, that's been a real long time coming too. It wasn't an overnight experience. Like you said, it's 20 years of work. And Chris, you've been doing your job now for a long time, even how have you seen things change as far as the kinds of questions you get and the motivations of people moving over time from when you first started helping people move and first started working for the Free State Project to now with the influx of people moving because of COVID tyranny and lockdowns and stuff like that? Has there been a shift in motivations, a shift in the type of people moving? For me personally, I feel like we've seen a lot more families in the past couple of years, whereas back when I had first moved to New Hampshire, it was mostly young single people.
Well, I've been working for the Free State Project since 2012, so it's been 10 years now, and I've always seen families. So there's always been families that have been interested, because that's what I moved to New Hampshire. I wanted to have a family. That really was part of my motivation. I wanted children to grow up in a free state where, I could live my beliefs and raise my children with that belief. So that dream didn't work out, but my dream of still living my beliefs is still real. So, that's I haven't really seen the motivations change so much. But again, in the last 2 years, there's more interest in health freedom and, everybody's always been, don't tell me what to do. It's always been, interest in the Second Amendment rights and, of course, cannabis and so those kinds of things. But the motivations haven't changed that much because it really is. Yes, there's a lot of young men, and there still are a lot of young men, libertarian-minded men that want to move and they're real gung-ho. But to be honest, there's also always been a lot of young and older women that are here. It's probably, I don't know what it's like in all the states with the libertarian parties but from what I understand, it's mostly a big bunch of dudes that are getting together and talking about libertarianism. Well, here you go to any single meetup and there's going to be a good percentage of women, if not 50%, at least 40%. There's a lot of women here that are interested in liberty. So, you single men, come and check it out.
I like that pitch. It reminds
Chris
me.
just got us 10,000 new signups on the website.
Yeah. There's a lot of libertarian women here. There really are.
There really is. I mean, we're in all these women's groups and we sometimes even do little outings that are just, for us and that kind of stuff. So, it's actually been really cool and rewarding to see it grow in its own right, because of course, what does that mean? It means much like the reporter who once told me, libertarianism is only white men. And it was a New York Times reporter. And I was like, well, I'm actually offended that you would tell an African-American immigrant woman who runs an organization of 20,000 people that it's only white men. Could you check your privilege? So, yes, there are chicks here. And I think it behooves us to speak out more, because I think what happens is people are drawn to what they know and they see. And a lot of times people have to hear the message that resonates for them from the person from whom it resonates. And so the more we have ladies speaking up, and and it takes courage, and it's not easy, and you have to learn, and it's it's a whole thing. But the more we do that, the more women we will also attract. And of course, I mean, New Hampshire is where we have like really hot chicks in crypto. You know?
Naomi, yeah.
Well, I joked. I got in an argument with somebody, and I joked once. I'm like, well, I think the libertarian movement is a better place for women as a whole, because it's the only political movement right now in this country that's not pandering and virtue signaling and placing women into positions who aren't qualified for the positions just to say they have a woman on the board. Whereas we have, like, the women in the libertarian movement tend to rise to the top and to rise to the show positions, but it's not for virtue signaling and
no, it's because we're better.
It's because they're like Carla has done the work to get where she is and being president of the board, and like Naomi is recognized for what she is for being a leading expert in cybersecurity and cryptography, and that's why she's recognized for what she is. And like the women we have who are in leadership roles in the libertarian movement and the Free State Project are there because they earned their spot.
Yeah, like Angela McArdle is a badass bitch. I mean, I hate that word, so I'm just going to say she's a badass. But and one of the things I really like too is I think that in the same way, this isn't a gender issue. We're all meeting each other as equals, with as close to as we're developing our authentic selves, because that's what individualism is, right? Like you're figuring out who you are, and then you're being like, hey, this is me, this is crazy me. And then everyone's very open to that. So we also have really, really interesting people. Chris, you mentioned that you, when you moved to the Free State Project, you had some plans and then things changed a little bit. Do you want to get into that at all? Or, I mean, it's really up to you.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So when I first moved to New Hampshire, I moved with my then husband, and I was basically I just worked, took care of the house and the dogs and all that. And my husband, he was the activist. So I was kind of the one in the background, and it was kind of funny. I was known as the Mrs. And it wasn't until 2011 I had an accident and I became paralyzed from the waist down. So my life completely changed after that. I ended up getting a divorce and moving from Concord area down to Manchester, and then a year later, started working for the Free State Project. But yeah, it's just been a whirlwind of amazing things. One of the reasons I stayed in New Hampshire and to be part of the Free State Project after the accident was because of all the support I had. It was amazing. There was $10,000 that was raised in a month after I was paralyzed. And this was to go towards housing or whatever I needed. And just everybody just banded together. I'd never felt so much love and support. And like I said, and this was at a point when I wasn't Chris Lopez, right? I was just the missus. Yeah. So, that's the way the community is. And since then, there's been a lot of support. I've had a van, adaptable van that I have now also helped with funds get donations from Free Staters. And then recently I got this fabulous, I bought wheelchair that I'm not in right now, but I will show it off tomorrow at the new mover party. So,
we'll be there.
It's a stair climbing wheelchair. It goes over hill and dale, through sand and stone. It is just an amazing piece of machinery, and I could not have ever afforded anything like that if it wasn't for the support of people here in New Hampshire. And actually, I think people outside New Hampshire too. So Free Staters, all around.
And I feel like it even makes you taller than me when you stand up in it too.
I think I'm as tall as Kevin.
I was going to say we should do that. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh my God, I will love if the end of this is that Chris is the tallest.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
Let's do it. That would be funny because right now I feel pretty short sitting all the time.
That counts in my book. So, and then you can join the giant caucus that we formed. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because you'll remember Ron Paul's freaking giant, of course, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I missed that guy.
No, we do have.
I think he's still in New Hampshire.
There is a question on Facebook from Everaldos, and I think this is a really broad, vague question. Like, what do we need to live in the FSP? And I think that's such an open-ended question. Like, if you were to talk to somebody who just reached out via Facebook or the email with no idea, had never been to New Hampshire, but was, ask you tell me about it, what's it like living there? Like, how do you describe it to someone in your role?
Well, I do tell people to come and visit and see for yourself. You got to meet people, you got to see the state. So you have to have an adventurous spirit, snow tires. So, you got to have a little bit of money to come up here and, make a visit. But it's that attitude of, that you're going to do something. That's really important to me personally. And I think the Free State Project is about doing something. It's not just moving to New Hampshire. I'm not just helping people to move to New Hampshire. I'm hopefully helping people to move to New Hampshire and activate. So it's to have that attitude and a little bit of funds to, afford the rent here. So you have a job, keep going. Maybe if you're retired, but have a doer spirit kind of thing. But the visit is the main thing. It really, really is.
And do you find, Chris, people are still just primarily coming on the big events, and we should certainly talk about Porcfest a little bit, but or does it seem like people are, because we're
people
trying
visit
pretty hard
all year long.
Okay, can we talk about that? Yeah.
They visit during the winter. They visit during the fall foliage. They just visit when they're able to get off work, when they're able to, either bring their kids or have their kids, babysat or whatever. But they come, visitors are coming all year long. We're getting 20 visitors a month this year. I mean, it really has ramped up in the last 2 years, as we talked about earlier. But anytime there's events happening all the time. So it's sometimes, visiting might be a little hard for someone that's a little shy, but I'm happy to do a one-on-one. I've done that too, where somebody's come and I just go out and have a cup of coffee or a meal with a couple or an individual. But will make the biggest difference in understanding what FSP is and what it is not.
So, one of the big things you do for visitors and for people here and for natives who are curious is you maintain the calendar, which is the most robust Liberty calendar in the world. And I want to bring this up because we had Mike in the chat, a native from Ware, who's just learning about the Free State Project and wanted to know if there was any local meetings to meet up and get to know people. Check out the calendar, guys. Chris, how long have you been running that calendar? And because I look at it now and I can't imagine it ever having been empty. How is that?
It's been a few years, maybe only 5 years that it's been going. But at this point, there are a lot of other people that are adding their events. There's the Granite Mine Schools that adds their own events. There's I don't know. There's several different people that just are see things that are happening and they just add it to the calendar. I keep an eye on it to make sure that it stays relevant. And if something's canceled, I make sure that stays updated. But it's a lot of fun to see all the things that are happening.
It's overwhelming sometimes if you try to keep up. If you were to try to do everything on the calendar, I think last year at some point after Porcfest, we were all jazzed up and tried to do everything that was on the calendar. All right, we're going to do one event a day or something here. No way, man. There's just no amount of money you're going to spend on gas trying to get around and see everybody. And no, it's just impossible.
That's what I thought when I got my van a few years back. I'm like, I got a van. I'm going to go all around the state and do this and do that. And I'm like, God, I'm tired. I can't do all this all the time.
It's not that big of a state.
But there's too much to do.
But the amount of things to do.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you've also done activism over the years. I know you've testified on bills. I've seen you up at the State House. I've seen you probably at some marches where we got into some trouble. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your core issues that you feel passionate about that kind of call you, the things you might be involved in?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm definitely interested in the war on drugs and the BS that's all about. So since I became paralyzed, I've testified a few times for legalizing cannabis. I testified a few times because since in the last 10 years, we introduced the medical marijuana. So I talked to the governor about that, told my story, etc. So
was that Sununu or who was that?
No, it was before that. It was, I think it was the governor before that.
Who none of us can remember. So
some lady. Yeah,
I saw.
Yeah,
who was it?
And so and then government oversight. That really gets my craw. I mean, it's leave me the F alone. I can decide what I put in my body and what I don't put in my body, or whether or not I want to have a bear cat. That is a very nice way of saying a very ugly thing brought into my town. And so I'll definitely stand up for, we wanted more policing in our town. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's New Hampshire, it's not, we don't need a bear cat. We don't need one in every town, one in Keene, one in Concord. I don't know. They're all over the place.
Oh my God. Not only do we not need one, but the hubris and the guy lost his job. So, he regrets it now, but to actually say you need a bear cat in a city, this was Concord, where there had been 2 murders in a decade, 2 murders in 10 years. That's a normal New Hampshire statistic. And for that statistic, they were like, well, there are these other people, so now we need a bear cat, so.
Well, my favorite story with the bear cats, it isn't even any times they've been abused or how quickly they break down and how much they cost to maintain. It's the fact that a lot of them were gotten for free. by the cities and towns to get them. And FEMA operates a little like checklist of goods that you can like requisition from FEMA at the end of the year if you have an emergency management department or a fire department in your town. And a lot of towns that are on like low budget, small towns with volunteer fire departments will try and use this as a lottery to get a new fire truck once every 10 years or a new ambulance or something. But some of the big cities, they just have people who fill out paperwork for a living and just check boxes. And I think there was one town in New Hampshire, I can't remember which one it was, but they got 2 Bearcats because their emergency planner just filled out, we can get them for free.
Free.
And then the town was livid because they had to raise taxes to build the garage to house them.
They have to be climate controlled or something, I heard.
It's absurd. They turned out when they didn't house them inside it, they didn't hold up in the winter. And they all broke down and required 6-figure repairs.
With a very modest budget, anybody could make their own hypothetical type of killdozer and have it all welded by Free Staters. This is again, it's perfectly legal to buy a bulldozer and weld whatever you want onto the side of it if it's on your own private property.
There's plenty of Free Staters who will teach you how to weld.
For sure. There's actually going to be something on Tuesday, I think Duck is doing up at Porcfest for welding. So come on to Porcfest.
So, Chris, how many Porcfests have you been to?
I've been to every Porcfest except for 2. So I couldn't go to the first one because that was in 2004, and that was the year I moved to New Hampshire. So I was a little bit busy. I actually got married that year also, so it was super busy. And then the year after, I was paralyzed. But so I've been to all of them almost. It's been awesome. Yeah, and definitely seen it grow in the last 2 years, being sold out. I just have my mind blown. Thank you, Dennis. It was just, it's just so cool because I remember the first one I went to, there was like the registration was down in the RV area, and it was like, so there was nobody there. And it was just one little RV, and we'd all hang out. There's a few people that hung out, and it just was so casual. And the bingo hall used to be covered up. That's where the main speakers were. We didn't even go down in the field. It just wasn't enough, to going on. Maybe the kids did.
Can't fit without it.
The kids did. Yeah.
Yeah. I love every time I hear certain like celebritarians or big podcasters talk about the reason they don't come to Porcfest or can't come to Porcfest is they can't imagine themselves roughing it in the woods and how awful that is. Michael Malice.
He's the one that jumped.
By the way.
But he says he won't ever come because he can't see himself in the woods. I just imagine all the times I've seen Chris zooming around in a wheelchair in the woods.
Yeah. I have a motel room right there on site.
Yeah.
I've got like the best spot. I open up the door of my motel room. It's right atop the field. So I can just open it up. I hear all the music coming up the hill. I can see the pavilion. I see the moon coming up over the mountains. I just sit there outside my door at the motel, and when I'm just relaxing.
We were right in the same spot as you last year.
Oh yeah. I'll be there again.
And it will be full moon again, so we will all get to see that moon rise again. There is something just really magical. And there's colors in this state that I've traveled a lot that feel to me at least uniquely New Hampshire, and them and you see them at Porcfest, and it's that sort of the blue and the peach and there's almost like a green tinge over the mountains, and it's just it's stunning, and I'm very excited for Porcfest. Chris, you've always sort of volunteered. This year I think you're just going to have fun, although we did ropey win, of course.
You'll probably see me at registration, so I'm not organizing anything, but I'll be volunteering and helping out where I can.
And we're still looking for volunteers. Can you tell folks about that?
We're absolutely still looking for volunteers. You don't have to live in New Hampshire to volunteer. We need people at registration for the Pork Rangers, which is our security detail. Anybody that has some medical experience in the free aid area, we need some help. You just do a few hours, 4 hours, whatever, just help out for a little bit. Facilities, we need some help keeping the parks clean. Pick up trash. I mean, you don't even have to sign up to volunteer. Just pick up the trash. Pick up your own trash.
And don't put out your cigarettes everywhere.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So sometimes there's cans around. I bring my own little ashtray. Just put it in your pocket or whatever. Stop
Water
somewhere.
bottle with some water.
And where would people go to volunteer? Is there a URL or an email or
I think
something?
it's on porcfest.com/volunteer.
Okay.
So,
and
yep.
From there, people can
From there, there's a
jump in.
form. Yeah, there's a form, and it asks questions about what your experience is, what your interests are. It asks your age, but don't worry about that. But it asks, so it's easy to fill out. In other words, it asks you the questions. So
I mean, it's just because we're marking for child labor. So the younger you are, the more likely you are that we're going to use you.
There you go. Yeah. If you're 5 years old, please sign up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you have any tips for first-time people attending Porcfest? You've been to so many; it's impressive. I bring a toddler and an 80-pound dog, and my wife comes, so we have a lot of baggage in tow.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, for first-timers, what do you say? As well as, again, sold out, so it's going to be crowded.
It's going to be, yeah. Well, there's a lot of space there, so, it's not going to be elbow to elbow or anything. But just know that it will rain at least one day, so, maybe bring an umbrella. It's in June, but it does get cold at night. So, bring some, you don't have to bring sweaters and parkas or anything like that. It's not that cold. But it does get chilly. So bring something warm, and then the next day it's going to be really hot. So bring some sweatshirts too. Definitely bring bug spray or lotion or whatever you need to stave off the bugs. Sunscreen, you don't want to get burned because when the sun's out, it's out. So just your regular camping stuff, your hat, wearing a cool hat is.
I'm gonna mime everything now.
Yeah, your water. Yeah, so bring your own water. Bring bottled water. Don't forget to bring your camera and take lots of pictures. We love seeing pictures of Porcfest. You can share them on social media. Just at Free State NH, and we will, reshare those photos and stuff. But keep the momentum going. There's lots of food that's available for sale, but I still would suggest bringing your own snacks, because of course it gets expensive. So save yourself some money and bring your own snacks, maybe something to drink. But it's basic camping stuff. There's a first timers list of things that suggested things on the Porcfest website, and first timer tips. But those are the main ones, protect yourself from the sun and the bugs, and take lots of pictures.
Oh, and I do want to say tick checks, just for folks who don't know, because I did not know this when I moved here. Maybe I say this on every show, but Lyme disease is a real thing.
Yep.
Possibly started by the government, but we'll put a pin in that part. And it is tick season. I'm joking, but honestly, you don't want to get Lyme disease, so you actually do want to check. So when you're taking a shower, just make sure they armpits and the darker nether areas. So, pay attention. If by any chance you get bit, I would recommend two things. If you can, collect it, put it in a Ziploc bag. You can actually mail it to some crazy scientist lady who will test it for you, and they put it in a database and everything. So there's a follow-up, so they can actually tell you, was it one that had Lyme or not, and all of that. So I always save my ticks if I got bit. If you got bit, you'll know because the head will have attached. You can pull it off if you're going in the same direction, like a bee sting you would. And then if it makes a bull ring, if it starts to go kind of like a red thing, if you think you're getting monkeypox, you want to have it checked out, okay? So just make sure, and do it with the kiddos as well. They play in the longer grass and that kind of stuff. You don't have to be uber paranoid about it, but bring your bug spray and do check, because you know, no one wants Lyme disease, and a few folks early on got it, you know, before any of us really knew that this was another thing we needed to worry about.
Us New England natives knew this was a thing to worry about the whole time, but
no
I've been
told
lucky.
Us.
In the 7 years I've been in New Hampshire. In the 7 years I've been in New Hampshire, I've been bit by precisely one tick, and that was in a friend's basement playing Magic the Gathering. Not in the woods, not hiking, not at Porcfest. Last year at Porcfest, I was shocked because I had 2 different campsites because we were organizing a hub and having parties and whatnot. And some nights I slept at different ones, but different people at different sites. Every morning I woke up and someone immediately next to me or very close had ticks on them. I never had a single tick on me.
Oh, weird.
I don't know what happened or how.
I wonder it could also be diet related, maybe. But we were out on the Goffstown Trail last week, and we were walking, and Louis was like, "Oh," and I saw one in his beard, and then I was like, "Oh," and then he was like, "Oh, I feel something," and he like pulled his t-shirt up, and there were like 7 on his back, and yeah, it was just like, ew. So, I mean, we didn't spray that day, to be fair, too. And it was sort of the first, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows. And I don't want to make people paranoid or be like the crazy old lady who's like, worry about these things. No one ever told me. So I'm just telling the world so that you can mitigate to your risk level.
And one other thing. I just wanted to say what somebody mentioned in a previous pork chat was that to bring slippers or thongs for the shower. So the shower, when you go in there, you don't want your feet getting all yucky, and the floors are kind of yucky. So bring something for your feet when you go in the shower. That really is a helpful thing, a helpful tip.
Yeah, flip-flops for the shower.
Yeah,
that's
flip-flops.
A classic camping boarding school thing.
Yeah.
You can get away with glamping camping, making it as little of a camping or as much of a camping experience as you want at Porcfest. I've seen people who do Porcfest sleeping in their cars. I've seen people who do Porcfest just string up a hammock and nothing else going through the whole week. And I've done Porcfest where I set up a full village with running water and electricity on my campsite and air conditioning. I've done every version. You can do every version. Last year I brought my kitten and had her on a leash the whole time, and somebody else had their pet goat.
There was a guy with a baby porcupine in 2020. I think.
Yes. Yeah, someone asked me if they could bring their horse last year, and I have to say I was like,
sounds messy.
Yeah, I was like, are you willing to pick up the poop? And that seemed like a hard no, so it was a hard no for me.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
Chris, how about some other things? What do you feel like you want to talk about? Like, do you have a favorite part about your job? Like a crazy story of someone you met?
Well, one of the funny things is a lot of people think that I'm a man. And not because of my voice or the way I look, but because of my name. You know, like I said earlier, the first thing that usually a person contacts us is through an email, and my name's Chris Lopez, and Chris is a very common name, and it's usually a male name. So I'll get a like, Mr. Lopez, thank you so much for the email, and sometimes I'll even get a surprised look when someone meets me for the first time and they try to hide it. I love it. They're like, oh, Chris. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, I mean, what are you going to do?
That's why I'm secretly in love with her.
It's a good one.
I don't have to question everything anymore.
A lot of people from the Discord server have wondered or asked the same question. They're like, I got in touch with Chris. Like, after talking to her, I was like, oh, I didn't quite realize like Chris Lopez might be a girl. It didn't even occur to me. All I was doing was an email address, and that's it. So
so it's not a big deal. I'm not he, her, she, we, whatever.
I'm like, are you saying pronouns?
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I don't care about that, but I don't really know how to respond when someone says Mr. Lopez. I'm like, well, I'm not a mister. But so I try to find some way to say, well,
because how do you know? You can't even be like, I'm a woman, because apparently no one even knows what that is anymore. What is a woman?
Yeah.
According to the
something like that.
billboard on Elm Street in Manchester, a woman is defined as an adult human female.
I saw that up there.
Then what's a female?
Now you're asking questions. I'm not a scientist.
Oh my God.
I'm
None of
not a
us want
doctor.
Oh my
to
God.
answer.
I'm no
That's
biologist.
why we're gonna watch that movie. I think we're gonna do like a big group. Oh, maybe I'm talking out of turn. Never mind. That's probably someone else's thunder. I'm stealing, so I'm not gonna.
What?
I heard the
Never
same
mind.
rumor. I heard that too. My wife's in a lot of cabals, so you know.
No, I just don't want to steal someone else's thunder. They're planning their thing. So I mean, we have about 15 minutes left, Chris. So do you have a favorite move-in story?
Favorite moving story? Well, I mean, I create the welcome wagon. So when a person's ready to move here, I just do a Facebook event, and I invite a bunch of people and send them out to the thing. And mostly the feedback that I get from people is my favorite, because it's like, whoa, what the heck? Oh, these people showed up. It took me 3 hours to load up my van and then only 30 minutes to unload it because all these awesome people are here. So, I mean, that is just so fulfilling for me to see that, I didn't even go. It's like, what am I going to do, in my wheelchair with somebody other than like, you go there, you go there. But, so it's really nice to hear these stories of people that are happy and they're here for the first time. They've landed and they're ready to stay in New Hampshire, and to be active. And they've already met their neighbors. They can see the community that's here, and I know that I had a part of making it possible, and that is, very, very fulfilling. I think that I have the best job because I'm getting paid for doing something that I love. Like I said, I moved to New Hampshire in 2004 to be a part of something. And it was actually, like I said, I got married that year. So my family all came like, why are you moving to New Hampshire? And I'm like, I want to walk the talk. I want to do something instead of just bitching about it, So I'm doing something about it. So I moved, and now I'm getting paid to help other people move. So it's just like the best. It's so fulfilling. It's like I've had a friend tell me once that it's my dharma. It's just like, this is a perfect job for me because I'm a friendly person. Yep. I can be a little goofy, so I don't take myself too seriously. So I'm easy to talk to, hopefully. And so it's just a very fun and fulfilling role that I play.
Awesome.
And,
we did have another question in the chat from Everaldo, asking are there a lot of LGBTQ plus libertarians? I think there's a question I want to expand on for the Free State Project specifically and the Free State Project community. There are a lot of people of a lot of different groups and subcultures and subgroups with this thousands of Free Staters and libertarians here in New Hampshire. You can find your tribe within the tribe no matter what you're looking for. I get questions at least once a week that are funneled to me from someone in Kevin's Discord or on Twitter asking if when they move, will there be a local gaming group where they can get a Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering group together, because I'm known for that online. There are a lot of LGBTQ libertarians. The libertarians in this country have been leading the way in treating LGBTQ people as equals since before Democrats or the U.S. government ever even considered it. And it was the U.S. government still listed being homosexual as a mental disorder until like the 90s. But the libertarian community has a long, rich history of being open and welcome to those communities. And whether you want a gun club or meet up with fellow members of the LGBT community or a gaming community or a movie night group, or there will be something for you here.
100%.
Absolutely. Women's groups, cultural groups, Japanese clubs.
There was a furry meetup at Porcfest last year.
There was.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I mean, that's just it. Libertarians are open. We love people. We don't judge people because of their denomination or, just as long as they're don't want to and put force on us. Don't force me to be a furry. But I'm not forced. But I'm not forced. It's like I can join the furry when I want to. When I'm ready, and that's okay. And nobody, I never felt forced to do or be anything, or felt bad for anything. Because maybe I am a furry.
In your role as like the point of contact, Chris, have you ever had difficulty if somebody reaching out looking for something particular, some kind of community to join within the Free State Project community? Have you ever actually had difficulty finding it for them? Because you do a lot of that. I know you've reached out to me in the past when people were visiting to ask if I could give them a tour of the Quill or Room to Tap Room or other things in the past, and other people you reach out to all the time. But if you ever actually had a difficult time getting somebody visiting or moving integrated, because you seem to do it flawlessly.
Well, I kind of leave it up to the community, so I'll introduce them to a few people and, let them make the rounds and stuff. But I haven't really had anybody. I mean, I think that the hardest time a person will have is getting out of their own head, so people that don't seem to find their tribe are the ones that don't look, or for whatever reason, not judging, aren't able to get out of the house, or are shy, or for whatever reason, and don't talk to somebody, don't talk to other people when they come out. So that's the biggest hurdle I see people having, is just getting up and out, and because I can introduce them, you can lead a horse to water.
Yep. Well, that's actually what's so great about the move-in parties, I think, is, as you said, we do have introverts and stuff, but there's a lot of opportunity as we're trying to activate people. So when you move, you kind of, you come in, it's all new, you moved, it's kind of overwhelming. But then if you actually then go and you start to go to a couple of someone else's move-ins, so the sort of pay it forward model.
Yeah.
So even if you're like the shy, nerdy, introvert person, and there are a lot of us, then you can actually, like, all you have to do is show up and go be helpful. You don't really, maybe you have to yell left, right, and lift with your knees. But, other than that, a lot of these opportunities to work your way into the community is open to people who are kind of our types. I would say the one group that I've seen a few come in, they fade in and they fade out fairly quickly. And it's people who don't actually understand individualism and personal responsibility. So because we are a fairly giving community and we do like to talk about private charity and the ways that we like to help people, but for us, it's a two-way street. And we have had, not many, but over the years, there have been a few people who've like rolled in, and been like, like, set me up. I heard you guys like move people in and give you a place to stay. And, one guy one time like came to my house, carried one box to my move-in and was like, you have extra bedrooms. Like, can I? No, you cannot. But so, and that's very few and far between, but it does happen from time to time. So to Chris's point of, make sure you have a little bit of savings, or you have a plan, or maybe if you don't have savings, try and set it up that you're washing dishes at, there are lots of Free Stater owned businesses and stuff, but come with the notion that, we're building, we want people to come to have a soft enough landing and really come so that they can thrive and they can succeed and that we can pay it forward and we could get more people in.
Right, that's the point, is to be successful. I don't say like you have to be rich or anything like that, but to thrive, you do need to have a support. You need to be able to support yourself, because the support system with friends is here.
Yeah.
What do you think is from your experience watching people move over, the year, a whole bunch of years now at this point, what do you think is the best path or strategy to success that you've seen people do? I've seen a lot of young guys on Discord and stuff set goals over the years, and over 3 or 4 years, complete trade school, finish college. find the job, find the apartment, connect with a Free Stater. They stay with them for a month. They sign a lease, and they're here. What have you seen in your time that you could? I'm trying to phrase it in a way. What do you see as the path to the success for a Free Stater or a potential mover?
I think again is to be involved, and so come to the meetups, New Mover Party, MVP, Taproom Tuesday. There's a regular event going on every Thursday on the Seacoast. Meet people, find out where you can help other people. And like Carla said, pay it forward once you move here. Do the things for other people that you had done for you, and join the NHLA. If you're interested in politics, join the NHLA. Start reviewing bills. Go to the State House. It's very easy to get involved politically here in New Hampshire.
Have a plan.
Yeah. So that plan, and so for some people, there's a lot of people that move to New Hampshire and they can't afford to do anything but work, and that's fine. They're working. They don't have the time and resources to go out and talk at the State House and to come to all the meetups. I mean, New Mover Party starts at 7 p.m. Someone that lives in the Lakes region an hour or so away, might not be able to make that. So I understand that, life, you have to take care of yourself first. So that might mean working and, taking care of your family. And, so being active, I think, is very important, but taking care of yourself is first.
And
balance,
I do
right?
say,
balance.
it's an old adage that applies to business too. The longer a company is in business, the longer it's likely to stay in business, and the longer you've been here, the less likely you are to leave in reality. And I think it's really important for people to come with a plan. Like you've mentioned, there's been people who've shown up with a car and a cot, nothing else, no plan, no job, no place to live, and figured it out and made it work. But there's also been a lot of people who haven't and were gone a few months or a year later. And some of them have come back with a plan later on. But one story I have, there's a young teenage kid, a 17-year-old kid out in the Midwest who is hyper-focused on getting to New Hampshire. He wants to get to New Hampshire, and he is already making his plan about where he's going to go to college, how he's going to go to college, how that's going to translate to getting a job in New Hampshire so he can move to New Hampshire. And he messages me 2 to 3 times a week to ask questions on, does this make sense for when I get to New Hampshire? How am I going to get to New Hampshire? Help me get to New Hampshire.
He's in the Discord every day.
A plan. But like making a plan and having a plan, because you don't want to land struggling and not knowing what your next step is.
And of course, again, that plan starts with visit New Hampshire. Come whenever you can. There's going to be a fabulous party on the 4th of July. That's like our after party for after Porcfest, where we'll all be dragging ass. I will not have a voice. And then I'm going to Freedom Fest, so it should be a good time. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But, the calendar, FSP/calendar, is where you can look. Everyone who's been watching the show now knows Chris is a lady. So we'll call her Mr.
No more excuses.
Unless she consents. And yeah, Chris, maybe like any last words, maybe a favorite memory or something, or just an inspirational note for folks back home.
Oh gosh, so many memories living in New Hampshire. Oh, I can tell you one. One of my favorite stories is when I first moved here in 2004. There was like very few people, so we would all like drive an hour to the one place where we would all meet up. There'd be a good 20, 30 of us, and we would just all do that because that's what we had to do to get together as Free Staters. And now there's like events and meetups happening all around the state, so you don't have to drive an hour. In fact, drive an hour to get to that meetup. Oh my God!
I have to go to Bordeaux.
Oh yeah. So the attitude there has changed a little bit from doing what you have to do to get there to a little more convenience. So that's kind of a nice problem to have, I think. To just not have to drive an hour.
Right. We're
20, 30
succeeding.
people.
Well,
With a 2-year-old, it's definitely nice to not have to drive an hour.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Chris. This has been real fun, real educational and informational. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. Remember, if you want to learn more about the Free State Project, always visit fsp.org. And when you're if you want to plan your visit, get in touch with Chris. Go to fsp.org/visitnh. Great resources, great information to plan your trip. Get here. Meet your future neighbors, and check out the calendar once you're here for an event to do any day of the week, anywhere in the state. Something is going on. There will always be something to do. And if you're in the process of making your move, if you're making those plans and you are figuring out what to do, when to get here, the Welcome Wagon will be there to unpack and help you. And as Chris said, it's only going to cost you a couple of pizzas, and it'll be the fastest and quickest move-in you've ever done.
Yeah, it's wild.
So make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Come back next week. Come back every week. Leave some comments. Tell us what you thought of the show, what kind of stuff you want us to cover in the future. We always want to hear back from the fans and Free Staters, and especially all you potential movers out there. Anybody else have anything?
No, I mean, I started with something clever. I'm going to end with something clever.
Oh, Porcfest. Dennis Brown wants to be Porcfest. 2 weeks. It's sold out. There is still secondary market tickets.
Yep.
You can't get your tickets. Check out the
Join the
Telegram
Discord.
groups, the Facebook groups,
lots of tickets
Discord
on Discord
channel. There's plenty of tickets available in the secondary market because libertarians, you know how they love capitalist markets and bought up extra tickets early on, knowing it would sell out. So if you don't have your ticket yet, there's still a chance, still an opportunity. Just can't get them from us. But Dennis will help you get them. Kevin will help you get them. Check in the Discord. And Telegram. And Carla's got a clever whip. Come on. Nothing. No.
Nothing.
All right.
Email Chris if you want to move. Email Chris. That's the biggest thing I can say. I push everybody over to Chris for sure.
Well, until next time, everybody, be free.
Live free and thrive. Bye, guys.
Live free or die. Don't let the freedom pass you by. Stand up proud and strong and lead this country on. Live free or die. From the village green to the mountainside, Yankee voices sing the song of liberty.
In 1623, she touched the hand of history and led the colonies on. Independence was won, and the spirit lives today to guide America on her way. New Hampshire standing free, the home of liberty.